Hey, it's Kenny with Robinson Handy and Technology Services. Today on the agenda, I will be talking about the Sense Energy Monitor. I've had it for over 3 years at this point, and it has worked well. It has helped me diagnose some electrical issues that I was having, but it still has some room for improvement, in my opinion. That being said, I'm going to cover things that I've learned about it at this point and share those with you so that you hopefully can get a better determination of it and some feedback that I've seen in one of the groups that I participate in about the Sense Energy Monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the graphs here. And I have this graph pulled up. So if you go to sense.com and then click the web app link, you can get this dashboard for your particular Sense Energy Monitor. It's the same information that is available in the app. But it's what you can see on the computer. All right. And so as you see here, right now I have it showing my always on usage. And you can see other things here on the left hand side. And so as you see, the dishwasher is running and it actually is draining right now. It's still draining and it's still running, but it just disappeared off the list. And that's one of the, flaws as it relates to the Sense Energy Monitor is that sometimes things will still be running. As you see, this shot up, but it's still running because the signal on the devices sometimes can change and it sees one thing, but it does not know how to properly associate it to that, so it just throws it down here in the other. So that's why the other down here is fluctuating because the dishwasher is actually draining right now, and beforehand it was rinsing or washing. All right, this here, so the garage ceiling fan light. So the garage ceiling fan light is not on at this moment. I actually went and checked and confirmed that it is off. However, the light that's in my office that you see lighting me up right now is on and is drawing that 67 watts. That being said, these two lights, the office light and the garage ceiling fan light, are on the same circuit and they have the same, if not similar, type of bulbs installed in them. As you see, though, this is where Sense has a tendency to make a mistake because of the fact the electrical signatures are the same. Granted, the light in this office has 5 bulbs in it and the light in the garage only has 4. But because they're on the same circuit and have the same type of bulbs, it struggles with determining between the differences between the two. Now, I've had a similar scenario where this has taken place. The heating element on my gas furnace was being flagged as or being reported as the light turning on in the refrigerator. And I knew something was off because I was seeing in the log that the refrigerator light was turning on for 10 seconds at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, well, I'm asleep and all the doors are locked and the alarm is set. Nobody's in here going in the refrigerator at that time. What is happening? Well, when I combined that piece of data, in addition to the furnace fan, when it would kick on, it was like, oh, that's the furnace fan. And the heating element was just being misidentified. I sent a message to Sense and Sense made whatever change that they made in there. They didn't tell me what they changed, but they told me they changed something and pushed that update to my device. Then I reported back to them maybe after about a week or two and said, hey, it's still doing the same thing. So what they did is they made another change. They didn't say what. And then they deleted the devices out for it to relearn the devices and the appropriate electrical signature again. And it did relearn the devices. However, the confusion aspect of determining between the two would still act up. And so it will still say, hey, the refrigerator door opened when in fact the heat was turning on. I didn't report it a third time, but I did, take note to that was happening. So likewise, the ceiling fan light and this office light are doing the same thing that was. So I don't know why that's the case, but I may contact them again and say, hey, I got a light that's on the same circuit and it cannot distinguish between the two, even though one has 5 bulbs and the other one has 4. Can you help out? And I'll see what they say. If All right, so let's go to the dashboard here. So one thing I want to point out with this dashboard is it, under some circumstances, does accurately estimate the amount that the electrical bill will be. So as you see here, it is trending to $42. It's currently estimating it to be $36 based on the electrical usage that I've used thus far. And as you see, over time, it goes here. My billing cycle starts on the 18th of each month, and it trends upward. Now, in the last few days, the weather has changed significantly cooler. And so here you're seeing $2, $3, $4, $5, a low amount per day. I think that's so from 522 to 648 is like $1 and some change. And then from 648 to 850, that's probably like another $2 and some change. That was probably laundry day or something like that nature. Where this estimation of your bill is a problem is if you have different rates for winter and summer, like I do. So where I live at, Alabama Power is the electric utility. They have a summertime rate, which runs from May to October, I believe. And then they have a wintertime rate, which runs from November to April. Those two rates are different. In addition to, they have thresholds for extra consumption. The threshold, I believe, in the summertime is 1,000 kilowatts. So if you go over or use more than 1,000 kilowatts during the summertime, you then hit the tier 2 billing rate, as I will refer to it, which is different than the basic or standard billing rate. The Sense Energy Monitor does not allow you to put in more than one electrical rate into its system. And for that reason, oftentimes this billing number or estimate that it provides is off, because most of the time my bill, it doesn't necessarily go significantly over, but sometimes, especially in the summer, it does go over that threshold amount. And because of that, what it estimates versus what the bill actually is typically off. Some cases is off by $5 in the case of maybe like a April or May, where you're just running the air conditioner maybe 2 or 3 times out of the month, versus being at least a good $20 off in the middle of June and July, where the air conditioner is running heavy and trying to keep up, in addition to all the other, if you have attic fans like I do and stuff like that nature. So that being said, this is not a very accurate estimated tool if you have multiple tiered rates provided by your utility. So just keep that in mind. I wish they would allow you to enter multiple rates, in some cases like time of use rates and other things like that nature. That is a suggestion that I may make to them, but I have not at this time. I just do note that I do pay attention to this graph to kind of see where things may end up at the end of the month when it comes to billing, and then compare the two, and yeah, it's been off. Now, when it comes down to the similar homes in my area and what the amount of usage that they are using, this has been like this ever since I've had Sense. Like, it still says that 3 years later. Now, I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that my house does not match the similar criteria in terms of size, bedroom, etc., that the other houses in the area may have. I don't know if it's the fact that nobody else in my area has a Sense Energy Monitor. But those are the two initial thoughts that came to mind. And because of that, I have attempted to change the zip code. So I changed the zip code of where my house is located to a neighboring zip code, not something in a completely different area, just to get data. I changed it to a neighboring zip code, and I still was getting the same message. So obviously, either not too many people have Sense, or my house does not match the profile of other people's houses. As far as it goes with Sense in Alabama and other homes that have Sense, this is always displayed, and I can see how it could be kind of right. In the summertime, this particular Alabama number definitely goes up to sometimes over 2,000 to 2,500 watts. So yeah, this seems to be more realistic for what I am looking at. The other things here, Sense Labs, they do have some stuff in testing that they're trying to or testing out, and I've looked at it, and it does have some good and bad uses. For me, the looking at the power spikes and drops have been useful. I have been able to identify some electrical issues like fluctuations in the power system, like why is the clock flashing, whatnot. And I would go, you can't immediately, like if the electrical event happened, let's say there's a storm that rolls through and your power blinks out for like a few seconds or something like that nature. You can't immediately go into Sense Labs and look at that and it tells you, oh, this just happened. Like it takes like a day or two to process that change in voltage and then to be able to display it here in the app. And so that's kind of a downside to it. It's like, well, why are these clocks flashing? It's like, well, did a storm happen? Did somebody hit a power pole? Like, what happened? And so usually that's a day or two behind. And, I kind of wish it was more realistic, but I understand that, this technology, because it's still in the Sense Labs, that it is still being worked on and hasn't been perfected, but we're still getting access to it to be able to, see how well or bad it works. Another thing I can point out is with Sense Labs, the quality usage, I've been able to notice like about the times when they do transfer switching of the electrical service from, let's say, one power station to another, because sometimes you'll see a consistent drop in that usage or the drop in the voltage, excuse me. For my particular setup, typically my incoming voltage in here is reported at around 120, 125, somewhere in that range. And when they do a electrical transfer, so switching from one source to another, the utility that is, it drops down to about 90 to 95 volts. Sometimes it'll get about 100, but there's usually a drop there, and then it'll pick back up, and it's a drop that is noticeable enough that Sense can identify it. So that is kind of a very interesting thing, and I would say if you get a lot of power spikes, you may want to consider getting a surge protector or surge arrestor for your whole home. This is one of the ones that installs on the breaker panel. And so I've considered that. I haven't actually done it at this point, but I have considered it given that I have the data that actually shows that, hey, this is what's happening at your house. And you may want to consider one of those type of things. As far as devices go, I mentioned this in the previous review, and it still remains the same, that if you have devices plugged into a surge protector or power strip, that those devices are slow or never recognized. And that is still the case today. I'm assuming the surge protector or the power strip is actually filtering the electrical signal. And because of that, those devices cannot be picked up by Sense in the same regard that a device plugged directly into the wall can be identified. Not sure why that is the case. I did see where somebody suggested, hey, how about you just try plugging whatever it is you got into a power strip directly into the wall and see if it will identify it. And I haven't tried that yet. So if I do actually get around to doing that and see what will happen, I will be sure to post that in a future review video. One thing else that I will add is there is a similar product that is now being sold by Schneider Electric. If you have not heard of them, they make various other things like surge protection devices for the home and other electrical components. From my experience, I've typically seen them in more commercial type settings, but I think they do have some residential type settings or component or products that they actually do sell. The device that Schneider Electric looks the same in terms of the size. It is a white box with green on it instead of a full orange box like what Sense has, or at least what my Sense looks like. I believe the technology inside of it is the same. It's basically a different name on the same product. So kind of like a General Motors, for example. They sell the Chevy Silverado 1500, and then they sell the GMC Sierra 1500. Same truck, different name. And I think that's what is happening with Schneider Electric and Sense when it comes to the energy monitor. Same product, different name. Now, is the Schneider Electric product selling better than the Sense? I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it to that extent. But from what I did see, they were selling for the same, if not close to the same price. So as far as features or anything else of that nature, I think you're not going to get anything better with one versus the other. That will wrap things up for this video. If you have any questions about the Sense Energy Monitor, please drop them down below. I'll be glad to answer them and may use your question in a future video. Also, this is weird because it said the oven just turned on, which I'm not sure why. Okay, sorry, got distracted. But let me show you this. All right, so it said the oven just turned on, and I'm like, well, that can't be right. But what I think just happened was the heating element inside the dishwasher just kicked on. And so the dishwasher is still running, but the heating element in there is on. And this is another example of two components that look alike that are being detected as the same device, but they actually are not. And so the heating element in an oven is similar to the heating element in a dishwasher, which is also similar to the heating element in a dryer. And as you see, the oven is not on. Like, nobody's in the kitchen right now cooking. And I can confirm that because I am the only one here. But the fact that it does say the oven indicates that, hey, it's misidentifying the device. And so you have to kind of use this device identification thing with a grain of salt. You can't rely on it 100%. All right, so now I guess I can close the video now that I've pointed that out. So if you have not already, please be sure to subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, leave those down below. I'll be glad to answer those, as well as maybe consider your question, if it is valid enough, to be used in a future video. Also, please give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.